And we're back once again with this Monster Energy DreamHack studio broadcast of the Nordic Championship 2019 summer season. We just saw an absolute brawl of a match between Neon Esports and Dusty, with Dusty faltering 0 and 2. Trouble, make sense out of this match a little bit, will you?
Wait, brawl is one way to talk about it, I guess. I mean, sure, there was an obvious game plan for both teams in both games, and I love the route that Dusty is going for. The jungler to put our eyes on. Sure, Rain is doing fantastic on his side, but I think that Joachim really showed up into both of the games. I just feel like, all the links weren't together, and they say you are as strong as your weakest link as a team. So if the machine is not working properly and it's not oiled properly, one player cannot carry the entire team. And we saw that, yes, Joachim did amazing plays in the first game, but then the whole of Dusty was not able to capitalize on mistakes from Neon to close it up early. Neon managed to actually snowball into the late game where they had the more scaling team composition, and that's how they won. Now, jumping into the second game, I just felt like it was a little bit all over the place because Nipla chooses to go with the exact same, matchup, but then on a different champion, which he didn't do that great on any of them. Like his Gangplank was lacking a little bit, even though Haru was doing great with his global ultis. And then when he went onto the Mordekaiser, it was a little bit of he didn't really have much impact. So top lane was lacking a little bit for me, and Joachim, it took too long for him to get unlocked. Kiana did not play any role into the game because she didn't need to, and that was the worst part. When your mid-game assassin does not need to play any role in your victory, you know that the game has slipped out of your hands. But enough with that. We're going to move on to the next best of three, which is between the Final Tribe and MJ-Esports, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is Sweden's number one team and Finland's number one team, right?
It is indeed Swinland's. It's against Swinland's. I said it again. Sweden's number one seed versus Finland's number one seed, respectively. See, that's how much of a friendly relation these two nations have. The Final Tribe came out swinging in the Swedish Esports League finals, where they looked rather unstoppable. And last Tuesday, it appeared as if the Swedish powerhouse of the team was going to be able to transfer their regional dominance into the Nordics as well. In game number one versus Ventus, the Danish first seed, the Swedish first seed managed to accrue an early lead off the backs of some expertly handled defensive play and counter gangs by the bot lane Krisberg and Collide and jungler Raxi, allowing their solo laners Wazor and Royal Cannon to shine. The game did end at 25 minutes, but in a competitive game 2 and 3, Ventus did Ventus things, and the Final Tribe couldn't quite keep up, losing the series 1-2. And on Thursday's round 2, the Final Tribe did bounce back to clean sweep Dusty. On the other side, with Finland's number one seed, MJ-Esports, they've been the consistent third place finisher in the Finnish Esports League the past 3 seasons, or the past 2 seasons, I should say, until finally now, when all of that stopped, when they changed into the next gear, beat Nordic in the semis and claimed first place. Now, MJ, they're stacked with players who shine regionally, with finals placements in several Finnish LAN events, such as the Tampere LAN-Trek and the Helsinki Assembly. So far this season, they've popped off against Norway's Nordavind by striking them down with a fat 2-0 before faltering to Ventus. And before we head into picks and bans, I just want to give the audience a little bit of an update about the off-stream matches. We saw Neon 2-0 Dusty. Apart from that, Nordavind won 2-0 against Iceland's number one seed FH, with Falcon 2-0ing Norway's Celestial Gaming. And picks and bans, trouble. The bans coming in, it's Lux, Yumi, Karthus, banned away from MJ, with Karma, Casio, Kha'Zix away from TFT. TFT, lock in a Jarvan.
So Karthus being banned. I haven't seen a Karthus ban in quite a while, and I don't feel like that it's that necessary. But of course, if they feel like it's mandatory to ban it against debut, by all means, get that out of the way. Although you are unleashing some sort of Aatrox action, which I was hoping to see Wazo go with, because he has rocked the Ilaoi previously. So I mean, like, it's sort of the same kind of fighter top laner, and it's open, and Aatrox is really strong. We're still on 9-13. So they prefer to grab the Javan, and this is something that I have seen the Final Tribe do every single time in their picks and bans. They will prioritize their bot lane no matter what. Bot lane and jungle are the first three things they're gonna lock in no matter what.
Yeah, Chris and Collide have been shining in both the Nordic Championship and the SEL, so it makes sense to prioritize them as well as that jungle pick. Locking in that Jarvan early is huge, but this pick and ban phase, it's going like a dance with Elise, Zaya in response, and there is that Rakan to take it away from MJ, but MJ the response with a Jace. Now Jace, I love this pick. It's so flexible, could be mid, could be top, and it punishes a lot, but is susceptible for an intelligent answer from TFT. What would such an answer be, would you think?
Oh boy, anything that goes pretty much heavy engage and late game is a great answer to poke comps, especially when you have a Jace. If that Jace cannot get what he wants from the side lane, if he cannot pull two people, assassinate one of them, and then try to cope with the other one remaining, then you're really screwed in your team comp. And so far, it really doesn't make sense why you would pick a Jace from the fact that you've seen already Rakan and Java. This is really a shutdown to any poke comp you might try to run. I don't know if Tatui is feeling a little bit confident, with his Jace in the top lane and the fact that he can split push his way to victory, because we haven't really seen from the other side what they want to play in the top lane. They felt safe removing the Aatrox and the Karma, and I'm expecting that this is going to be like sort of a Tamkens lock-in. It's going to be the Thresh.
Yeah, the Thresh is interesting because I believe it's a comfort pick there by Eru. Some they've played a fair amount in the past. Now for TFT, oh man, Kiana's locked in again. Are you kidding me? We get a second game of Kiana. I was about to say, I'm expecting some sort of Royal Cannon, Glacial Augment mid laner with a potential Mordecai at top for Wazor, but there's the Kiana. We completely missed it. It's been left open. Man, against Jace, how do you think Kiana fares if it's against that champion?
Kiana usually struggles a lot, and it is going to be against the Jace, unless there's some shenanigans. Kiana ends up in the jungle, and we have Wazer onto that Javan, which would also make sense because he's playing things like Mordekaiser, Ilaoi. It kind of fits his play style. It is going to be the mid lane Jace, though, and Renekton being picked for that top lane, and it is indeed going to be the Kiana jungle, which in my opinion is really strong. Never mind what I said. They still had seconds to swap around. We've got an assassin versus Renekton. Now, you know my opinion about Renekton. I do believe he's one of the best blind pickable top laners at the moment in the league.
Oh, yes.
And especially against assassins, it's so great because you have so much sustain and shutdown potential, and all the lockdown together with Debu's Elise can actually enable that Crocodile to snowball the top lane. So it makes a little bit more sense now to put that Jace down in the mid lane. But what essentially MJ have done for themselves here is draft a game spiked composition, while on the other hand, if it goes towards the late game, TFT has the upper hand. They have the engage, they have the assassination potential, they've got the consistent AD damage later into the game on both the carries in the team. And of course, they have like really fast objective killing, such as Baron or Shelly or any dragon. But that is the same case for MJ. So in terms of who has the best draft, I feel like both teams have drafted the best for what they're going for. I'm still not sure about the Jace. Meza might have to prove me wrong here, because I just don't really like the Jace unless you've got something like a poke comp to accompany him with. But yeah, like I said, I'm just expecting Meza to prove.
They could theoretically stick the Jace in a side lane and just have him siege all day, every day. It's also a pretty potent siege if MJ managed to get ahead here. But I agree, it's a little bit volatile. Yeah, you got the Elise to try to get your laners ahead early on, and you've got some pretty strong laners here. Let's be real. You've got the Jace, you've got that Renekton, as well as a Xayah Thresh bot side. I mean, it's possible with an early strong Elise here, but I don't know. And also, do you think Kiana, perhaps, you talk about her as an assassin, but perhaps she'll adapt and go a more bruiserish kind of style? Do you think that's an option for this champion?
I mean, she has the assassination potential, but she's not really an assassin. She's more of a fighter slash assassin. So not quite a bruiser like Renekton. So she's not really gonna sustain that much. She's not gonna tank that much. But it's something more like an Aatrox. Because usually when you have a stun into the kit that can be used so many times, you can't really have, that hard of assassination potential right there as well. So in my opinion, Kiana is more of a fighter, which, yes, it matches her okay versus squishy targets, but the Renekton pick here, I feel like is genius because you can lock her down, you can out-sustain her, and I feel like you can out-damage her in the early game as well. And in the mid game, of course.
Oh yeah, and it would have worked should they have sent the Kiana into the jungle also. It is fairly well into the Jarvan also, but here you see Raxi walking across the mid lane, making it fully visible to MJ what he wants to do here. So he starts off on that red buff. We got some blue pinks on the way towards MJ's top side jungle, but this is so telegraphed by TFT. I don't know. I don't like that they make it their rotations so obvious, despite him having to perhaps take that route to even get to the camp in time. So what do you prioritize? Giving the enemy information, or keeping stealthy and starting your camp a little bit later? What do you think?
I would say give your position away because it's pretty obvious that the Jarvan is most likely going to start with the bot side, but he's coming around.
He's coming around. Eru with a nice play there. Dissuades the entire gank. Beautifully played there by Eru, showing proficiency on this champion. Gorgeously timed, and the gank is, well, it's gorged.
I mean, that's still a Xayah summoner. He managed to there without burning anything, and his jungle is not in trouble. Now have a look in the top side, because this is where I want us to focus for a little bit. Kiana is really struggling in this lane, even underneath her tower, and Tato on that Renekton is putting down so much pain. You can see the out-sustain coming into play right here, even though he did start with the Doran's shield. So he takes less damage from the Kiana, and he can actually out-sustain her while putting the pain down. Now, if this Renekton snowballs out of control, could be what enables the rest of the team to play around it. Ooh. Just missing that W right there.
But you see the willingness to go for these fights. Meanwhile, bot side, a nice ground entrance coming in for Collide, but it's just poorly timed. However, Eru gets flashed on by Chrisberg. It's going to be first blood, surely. He gets the final auto attack there.
Wait, he survived!
Yeah, Collide is still here. Meanwhile, Debu gets the knockout!
Oh my
Are you kidding me, Collide? What an outplay! We said we had to focus on the TFT bot side of Chrisberg and Collide, and they expertly play around the triple gank there by MG. Wow, gorgeous wasn't that?
How was this huge mistake by Collide turned out to be an actual advantage 2-0 for them? So Collide engages after having no clue where Debo could be in the entire jungle, and he uses his knock-up and his shield, and then Debo comes in, but he doesn't try to cocoon. So he found that Collide would die so easily. Well, guess what? Aftershock happened. So Collide does not end up dying. Q does not end up assassinating him. So then you have two separate fights happening in the bot side where Debo is actually trying to chase Collide underneath the tower, and in the end, it's a 2-0. Oh my god, for the Swedish bot lane. Good game, well played down there.
Well played indeed. A slight miscalculation of the damage there. Collide, I think he just perhaps, had the confidence there to go for the re-engage, realizing that he'd have enough time before the order comes in, is not running that aftershock, so he doesn't have the extra bonus resistances. We come in to a pause. Jungle lagging again. Oh man, you hate to see it, but it's okay because this gives us a little bit of time to talk about the consequences the snowballing of Krisberg will have here. Do you think he'll be able to run away with this game against the composition of MJ, who's surprisingly early and mid game focused?
I mean, having a little bit of a look at what previously this bot lane has played, and you mentioned that before, is we have Zaya Rakan, Kai'Sa Nautilus, Kai'Sa Rakan, Kai'Sa Rakan. So you see kind of a pattern. It's hard CC lockdown support with hard scaling ADC. Now, you enable this hard scaling ADC in lane 4 minutes in, and they can give you the game. You said that Kreisberg has what it takes in this bot lane to carry the entire team, and how bot-oriented this entire team and team comp is anyway, because you have given the Corki into the mid lane while banning Azir. That means that your Corki is not really going to run into any unnecessary trouble. You're just going to sit in the mid lane. You're just going to farm. You don't have to necessarily kill the Jace or push him back into his tower. It's kind of a matchup that's going to outscale the Jace anyway later into the game, so you don't have to force anything there. Wazer will get enabled one time or the other if he does not die to the Renekton, which right now, Tatui cannot really take this fight because he has a massive wave building up against him.
The added damage from the wave is very real. If you don't respect that, you'll find yourself losing trades quite handedly. So TFT, final tribe, they will have to utilize this Kai'Sa way better than Dusty did with Hoyes in the previous match. They had this huge Kai'Sa, but we couldn't really do much with it. This mid lane will engage there, but Mirza dashes or exits that fight as quickly as he entered it. So, when do you think that the top lane pressure will switch over to the other side? What would you say?
I'm not expecting it to switch to any side, because unlike the other best of 3 we saw, these two top laners, you can see that they're actually, respecting each other. Yes, they're going at it, but it's mostly like small little trades to see how it's gonna go, which side is it gonna swing over. So they're actually very respectful, unless we have some juggle action. Now I'm expecting Raxi to go towards the top side because Tatui is sitting on no summoners at all. So that would be a great time, but Collide has been caught.
On the bot side, the Lantern throws in debut into the action. This time Collide finally does die, but watch Roxy is waiting in the wings. There's that repel and debut. What? VL finds a snipe and the pullback and gets the kill onto Krisberg, and that's a 2-for-0 despite the counter gank for MJ and some plates on top of this.
And that's exactly how the previous one should have actually gone, Lance Me Not, but the hesitation from Dibu there to flash into that matter is what cost them 2 deaths actually. This time they're doing great. This time around, VL with a great snipe with the feathers, they managed to grab 2 for themselves. One going to the ADC, the other one going into the early game least jungle, and now it's time to pay a visit to some other lanes.
Yeah, Tatui and Wazer still going at it. I adore how Wazer is using the green element to play around the vision, repeatedly denying Tatui these stuns. It's actually happened so many times now. Tatui ends up targeting a minion. I think we've seen it 2 or 3 times happening now. So Wazer very confident.
Minion.
Oh, the cannon minion! No.
Bro, cannon, why?
You hate to see it.
Why did you do this to my OCD? Why?
Oh yeah.
Nevertheless, I want to go back into the top lane and point exactly on what you said, that he is using the grass element to deny the trade back damage. So every time Tatui comes in and tries to trade, he cannot find Wazer to trade. So even though the Qs land from Wazer, then he cannot trade the damage back, which brings out a slight win onto Wazer's side. Now, saying that, having an assassin who fight a kill potential, hold on.
Yeah, Aaron finds himself inside of a cataclysm and should die quite quickly. TFT Krisberg actually sniping that one off, stealing it away from 4 teammates there. But meanwhile, yeah, they're going on the Infernal here. But watch Debut in the top side, trying to set something up on Wazer. They go in here. Wazer's, yeah, his HP just sort of disappeared. Nicely played there by Dude, but the stealth once again. Wazer, he's expertly maneuvering this Kiana. Mirza's here, however, and there it is. finally, Mirza slays Wazor after way too much time, actually. Nicely played, though.
I wanted to say that putting such a versatile assassin
Meanwhile.
slash fighter. Oh, Roxy!
Ooh,
Oh, Roxy!
with a flash. Manages to get out with the flagging drag, and Rakan will assist him on his way out.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm just checking the blue buff. I wasn't gonna take it anyway. You can have it. But back to the top lane. So having Wayza and Kiana in the top lane doesn't really enable the champion as much as it would if he was jungle or mid. And I'm just looking at Deepu. He's waiting for the repeat gang. He's waiting in that bush. He wants to land that cocoon. And Tatui is making sure that this wave is pressured so they can actually dive. Oh.
Yeah, it dashes in for Lagoon.
Oh,
And flash forward. Cocoon, they do not buffer their stuns though. So Debu comes in, is tower diving here, used the repel quite early, but Wazor, nicely played, but so poorly buffered. The cocoon and the flash forward by Tatui used at the same time. No CC chain whatsoever.
I felt like the flash from Tatui gave it away that the cocoon was coming because, because the Q from the grass element was used from Wayza when he saw Tatui flashing in. So when he saw him flashing, obviously he's not going to be flashing in alone on a freshly HP backed Kiana. So he knew that something was going on. He knew that someone else must have been there, and who else other than Debu. And he literally negates that gang, and very, very well played by Wayza. A little bit, you know, there wasn't much patience from Tatui in this segment, but hopefully he will be able to make it up. Now he's sitting in the top lane without teleport and flash, which is very susceptible to ganks from Roxy, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Now back to my point about Kiana, putting an assassin into the top lane or hard fighter into the top lane does not really enable the champion because you cannot roam with your jungler. So if you're mid lane, oh, Rax is there though.
You're never going to finish your points. Big gank by MJ here. Flag and drag by Roxy. Flash forward by Dupuy. The red buff is there. The pullback. VL slays Roxy on the wayside there. A 2-for-0 in favor of MJ. Trouble, you are not going to get to analyze anything this game. Non-stop action all the time.
I mean, don't worry. I'm used to this game, so we're all good. What an amazing time Debu is having into this bot side. He does not need to go to the top anyway because Tatui keeps on having Wayza underneath his tower over and over again. So it is Wayza that loses in terms of CS and gold, and oh, he might be losing this trade as well. He did actually. So you see that Tatui, how the tables have turned, and that Renekton is actually getting much stronger than the Kiana, because, to get to my point, when you are isolating an assassin, she can't roam, she can't get into the jungle, and she can't get these cheeky kills close to the walls. So you're literally having an assassin trapped underneath a tower, and all that ability for snowballing is gone.
However, sticking Wazor up in the top side could perhaps, I mean, if you just slap the Kiana underneath the tower, you've seen how easily she maneuvers these ganks by both Nibu and Tatui here, and perhaps soaking enough golden experience to come online later on it can be fine. But yeah, he's gonna struggle here in the side lane. Absolutely. Now sent down to the bot side. Both teams now going for that lane swap as the first turret was obviously taken down by MJ down in the bot. Watch Wazor though, however, I focused on the wrong target. There's Raxi's Cataclysm. Mirza loses 50% HP, but is seemingly fine. Kiana on the wings though.
And that's another tower down for Mirza, who is extremely immobile without it. Deepu is waiting on the side though, and he could potentially be flanking. But it's a 2v3. I don't think they want to take this fight.
So many tower plates are falling across the map. Yeah, Collide, you gotta get out of there. But I mean, it is a Rakan. Should be able to be perfectly fine with all of these dashes and shields and all of that. And Jazz, so it's an ADC versus ADC matchup in the top side, and they're now isolated as MJ group for the mid to secure some last minute platings here. And there's an air dragon on the way out. I don't necessarily think they'd prioritize that too hard. I think they're just going to focus on turrets for now.
I mean, I don't know if they can focus on towers when your Zaya is all the way up the top lane. You've got your most fed member on the side lane, which is good because it's a late game Zaya hyper ADC. But TFT need to get out of there because there's 2 members of MJ that are trying to flank this tower. I feel like they're wasting too much time trying to get this tower because with the Zaya in the top lane, there's no way they're gonna knock it down real quickly, especially when the plates are still active at this point of time. Now this tower is just about to run down, and this is how you see this rotation. If it was made a couple of seconds earlier when VL was pushing wave after wave after wave, it would have resulted in yet another tower for MJ, although they put all their resources in the mid lane where TFT was able to actually respond.
Royal Cannon's been spending so much time trying to force that turret down there, and with that Rift Herald used, it sort of forced a response. Meanwhile, topside, man, poor guy, Chrisberg gets popped up in the top place there by 3 people. Should net them a top turret, also the second one of the game, but that also opens up mid for TFT. It's a 4 versus 2. Watch the pings come down. Look at that. There's the package coming in. Beautiful. And that means Tatui will pay for his own team's rotation with his life.
And you see where the Kiana declares dominance. It is in these very short wall distances. It is in a very cramped space. It is in the jungle passages. This is where this champion shines. So by putting her in the top lane, you decline so much potential for roaming and killing. Insane. So I'm not sure if they grab the Kiana on the second rotation here to deny it from MJ, and the only place they had left to put it was the top lane, or what happened there. Because sure, it can work, but so far you're behind so much CS, you're building Duskblade, but you're stuck on a side lane.
Yeah, it's questionable, for sure. But I mean, as soon as Wazer starts moving around a little bit, this is exactly what happens. So yeah, you got the Duskblade, perhaps not the best if you're stuck on the side lane, but I mean, at any time Wazer gets the chance to move away, he's taking it, right? So perhaps that is how they intend to use this Kiana. Never really intending to go in a 1v1 straight up, but more so just hold their own for a while with okay wave clear, and then just find picks, I guess. Meanwhile, Quicknets Collide comes in. Mirza dashes past it, but still gets charmed up, and that is a quick kill for the final tribe. And they siege the top turret, while mid lane is under siege by MJ. Watch Roxy. Surely they can't defend this. No, this is going to be the mid tower going down. Cataclysm, actually, BL! Beautiful! And the CC comes in, but it's actually MJ who finds the fight. It's 4 versus 3, so with Roxy engaging a 3 versus 4? You gotta ask yourself, what are you thinking, man?
Team gives the call for Kreisberg to stay top lane and pressure, so they're trying to put all the gold and experience advantage onto that Kai'Sa that is your late game carry, whilst Royal Cannon is trying his hardest to stay alive in the middle and pressure waves. Dibu is again there. They're gonna give up double mid lane tower for just 1 tower in the top lane, plus kills. This is not a favorable trade at all for TFT, and MJ have opened up the game.
4 turrets now in favor of MJ. Obviously, the side lane inners are the only one standing, and getting that mid turret, it's so crucial. As you said, it opens up so much of the map. You can play so aggressive in denying jungle camps as long as you keep the waves pushing, which they should be perfectly able to do. Should be perfectly fine. So massive objective there off of those kills coming in from MJ. They should be able to lose their own mid outer though. But man, this is looking great. The Finland are looking strong today, actually.
They are looking very strong, and they have 4,000 gold in the lead. And if you look at the stats, it is on the correct people as well that at least need to snowball, because if Elise does not snowball early games, he literally becomes the most weakest link in your team. A late game Elise is literally a non-existent champion. It's like you're playing 4v5. So it's just there for the Cocoon. It's not going to have great assassinate potential, and she's not going to be doing that much damage. While on the other hand, she doesn't really tank much either. So the fact that Debu has managed to get himself so far ahead into the early to mid game is great for him. And let's not mention VL with 3-0-4, almost there for that Infinity Edge.
There it is.
And there it is.
As we said, VL hits a massive power spike here at that double item. Should be able to come online and get out of control now against this Kaiser. Obviously, Crispik is still quite strong with that Rage Blade. But I don't think they can quite compete with the pure pressure that MJ is now outputting with this 4K gold lead. And you speak a lot about Debu, who now also finished off that Morello. It's so awkward having an Elise in your team because yes, she'll snowball. If she snowballs, she can provide some damage, right? But as you said, she doesn't have all of the assassination potential. She doesn't have any tankiness. So unless she gets ahead early, it's going to be awkward. So Debu will have to pilot this champion to great expertise here to make the most out of it against what we know is a competent Swedish first seed.
And this is why I don't understand where the Jace pick comes from, because when you have Elise, you usually want Wait! Collide?
Collide gets out. I mean, he's playing that Rakan, got all the safety in the world. Cocoon actually lands onto Roxy.
He flashed forward into this
wow.
fight.
Yeah, he did.
I think that was actually probably a misclick right there from Collide, which is going to cost him a lot, because his ultimate now is not going to have as much value without the flash, and it's going to be more predictable having to quickness in for that ultimate to hit. So misclick or not, it happened for Collide, and now he has to live with it for the next 5 minutes. But back to it, this is why I don't understand where Mirza and Jace come in, because usually when you play that Elise, you want hard to see on all of your lanes, so you can try and snowball that spider. Now Renekton has that, you know, Xayah, Thresh in the bot lane have that. Jace, though, in the mid lane, he has been kind of like a non-factor in the team so far. Like, we don't see any of the split push potential happening yet. He's not taking down any towers. We don't see any of the poke happening. We don't see any of the consistent damage. And he's clearly building for that split push build. He's got the cleaver, he's got the ghost blade, he wants to be on a side lane, he wants to be chased away, he wants to be able to kite while having that extra HP and damage into his kit. And he's obviously building against playing against the Kiana as well. That's why the tab is coming to play. So you want to group as 4 people, but your 4v4 is not strong enough. Never mind the 4v5. Oh, they've got Blind.
Collide gets caught up by that Cocoon, but the follow-up damage just isn't there. I mean, you've said that the Jace has been pretty much useless, but one thing that Mirza has been able to do, though, is, you know, wave clear defensively. He's been defending mid lane quite well up until that last point where MJ rotated away from it. So, I mean, he's laying down a little bit of poke and wave clearing, I guess.
Wait,
hang on. Eru gets killed off. Oh no, I placed a... No, that wasn't even a recent ward. What was he doing there?
I think he might have been already shopping on his way back. He saw some juicy items that he really wanted, you know, some control words. These look really nice and juicy to purchase. So I think he was staring down at them, but on the other hand, you know, Collide and Crashback, they're not sleeping.
Oh, look at that route though. By VL. That's gorgeous. That's a solo disengage there. Yeah, VL is stepping it up for Finland's MJ on the day. Debu looking for the Cocoon. Meanwhile, there's a brawl going in between Wazor and Tatui on the sideline. And Mirza pokes out Royal Cannon just a little bit. And TFT, they're forced to back away slightly as MJ set up for that Air Dragon, which is going to be valuable as you want to crack the inner base here.
That's one thing, and the other thing that I would say is great for TFT. If you're a team that's behind and you do necessarily have the late game, and the other team is like a mid-game oriented team with, you know, specific power spikes into the mid-game, and they're just getting Cloud Drakes, and you have the Infernal, it must feel really bad, man.
Yeah, that has to feel really bad. I mean, I like how TFT, they're trying to hold on to this one, but MJ, straight up too strong. But I don't know here. They're trying to set up a little bit of a Baron priority, which should be the next point of contention. TFT, if they find a window here, will be able to slay that one in a blink of an eye. And I don't know. If MJ decide to send one of the split pushers, they're going for the 1-3-1, right? And they have the double TP, but it's kind of risky because it opens up both of them to get capitalized by several members. And look both sides what's happening.
Where they were looking at Tatsui there, and they were like, we're gonna go for the red buffs, and we go for the 2v1. I think it was a wise decision not to try and 2v1 the Renekton, because you're both squishy, you don't have, any lockdown there, so he could potentially, win in this 2v1. But you see, again, Debu, how much poke he gets just by Royal Cunning. And this is, again, what we talked about. He's literally that cocoon. If that cocoon doesn't hit, oh boy!
Who needs to hit the cocoon when Thresh Hook lands and you can just cook cocoon afterwards? It's a double kick quickly for Debu. A little bit of criticism has been coming in for this man, but he's popping off now. Triple kill. Wazor utilizing the vision play there with the green element to grab a double kill real quick. Mercer dashes in, but Wazor is huge. The VL is bigger. Tatsui tries to find the finisher onto Chrisberg, but Chrisberg, with that movement speed up, should surely be able to get in. But there is the flash ace by MJ, and they got multiple options. They're looking at mid.
Scratching my head, I think that TFT did not really watch the previous game and what happens when you face check a bush with no vision. Oh my god, Collide is fancying a fight on his own here and it will cost him his flash. I don't know what's happening.
They're desperate. That's how we're gonna have to.
You don't have to be. You just lost the tower. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's true. But I think we've seen some of these tendencies in this team before, where they're fantastic when they're ahead, like in their match against Ventus, right? That was a statement. They could run away with it against even the best teams of the league, but put them on the back foot, and they just see the game slipping away in front of their eyes. And I think they have a tendency to be a little bit over-eager to get the game swinging in their favor once again. So there you see these collide kind of plays that we just witnessed.
I just think they kind of have not made sure how to play against the position that MJ is running right now, because Roxy, in my eyes, is a very strong Javan player in general, and he hasn't really been allowed to make this place for his team, although Royal Cannon is in a lot of trouble.
He dodges out on the poke by Mirza, but Tatui gets the stun, and that is the quick 1-2 assassination. Cataclysm comes down onto Debu. There is the TP being channeled by Royal Cannon, I believe. Beautiful stun there by Wazor's Kiana, but I think he's still gonna die. There it is, MJ with a quick 3, I should say 4-0, and they're looking at the Baron. TFT, they can't catch a break.
Wait, they lost this fight 3 versus 4.
It's crazy.
Alright, this is gonna secure MJ a Baron right here. I don't think Collide can do anything about it. He's gonna try with the Q, but the chances of you stealing with Rakan Q a Baron are the same chances that you have to steal with a tornado from Janna, so
it happens sometimes.
It's happened sometimes, but I think it's like something like a 0.1% chance.
Yeah. It's unlikely, say the least.
Back to that. Look at all these bounties. Look at all these scores on the side of MJ. 8,000 gold in the lead, and we keep on growing. So MJ came in with a plan. They're executing their plan so well. This Chase has not necessarily been a menace in this game, but he has been consistently on a side lane, pressuring non-stop. So even though he doesn't have a kill potential, Collide wants to fight.
Yeah, go on with your point.
I find, yeah, so even though he hasn't necessarily been a kill threat, they can't kill him either. So he is putting the pressure on a side lane, and you are keeping someone else there to clean up the wave that Jason has pushed underneath your tower, and that forces the 4v4, which clearly MJ has the upper hand. They even have the upper hand in a 3v, we just saw. And Royal Cannon uses his flash on a 1v2 that he clearly could not escape. So there's some desperation coming in from the players here, same as Collide trying to pull so many engages.
Cocoon lands onto Roxy, and that secures the mid lane inhibitor turret. And TFT, they're indeed desperate going up against the Finnish first seed. The MJ-Esports powerhouse, which enters the Nordic Championship for the first time. Remember, they've been the consistent third best team in Finland, finally breaking through. And it's not as if they've been a large margin away from the rest of the competition. They've done well regionally. It's just they've just missed out slightly. And there's big characters by Raxi, forced to stopwatch. Massive package, but Roll Cannon dies real quick. VL is just way too strong. On Tattoo in the middle of many, but people falling left, right, and center. Cleansed hook by Chrisberg, but he still dies. It's a pentakill. Actually, in favor of VL, he pulls it off. And MJ-Esports come out swinging in the first game against TFT and will be able to secure a Game 1 finish and taking us to match point.
Wow, and what a showing from the Finnish first seed was that. They came in with a clear plan, which I didn't believe in. I was the first one to say, all right, I understand what you're trying to do here. I understand your game plan. I don't understand what your Jace is there for. Well, guess what? The Jace was just bait. The Jace was just put in the mid lane to just not lose, to pull some attention from the enemy team. And guess what? Even when it came to 3v4s, with MJ having the 3 members, TFT could just do nothing about it. And it's really baffling because you have this powerhouse of an assassin, which Kiana is, and then you're not really using her to her full potential in the jungle or maybe in the mid lane. So I feel like there's a lot of adjustments that need to happen on the side of TFT if you want to beat MJ. Because right now, yes, they went in with a mid-game draft, but they did what Dusty couldn't in the first best of 3. They capitalized on early game mistakes by TFT, and they ended the game super quickly.
And they're showing why they've crafted themselves a place in this league. You were super critical for this against this Kiana, and rightly so. Like, MJ punished all of the mistakes and even the draft by TFT. And what a showing by VL! What an impressive ADC performance on the day, rounding it up with a pentakill in an explosive fight that ended in about like 6 seconds or something like this. So the extent to which he was ahead, well, it can just not be overstated here. And perhaps the final tribe, who are known for having a solid bot lane of themselves, will need to target VL and Eru to craft themselves the advantage that they need to close this one out. Now, will TFT be able to bounce back in game number 2, or will it be a clean sweep by MJ, who had a fantastic game number 1? Find out in just a few minutes as we come back from these ads.